Some random geek who still wishes he could give more money to Joanna. Joanna still needs help with back rent. Now the question. Steve, last Ask Away, a member of your channel, said TJ Kirk has done a 180. Pause for dramatic effect. TJ Kirk, the amazing atheist, who I bet still hates feminism, has done a 180? Reminds me of this TikTok by Francesca I want to show and share with your audience. It is less than 3 minutes. I'm sure you have opinions on TJ Kirk doing a 180, especially since he was one of many of the SJWs that has done takedown videos of you because you said, come on, guys, feminism is cool. Hence all of the Steve Shives hate on the internet, the blocked by Steve, hashtag blocked by Steve Shives and all. I still haven't seen the video where TJ has done the 180, but if he's going to do a 180, what would he have to do? And what would you want him to do? Personally, just because someone says they are for Medicare for all doesn't change the fact that they're still an asshole. TJ Kirk, 180. So this is Francesca Ramsey's TikTok.
Anti-social justice warrior era is what made the alt-right pipeline mainstream, and I will not elaborate.
I'll elaborate. I'm Francesca. I created a show for MTV called Decoded in 2015. It was all about race, pop culture, and identity. 8 seasons, over 90 episodes, and that entire time I was harassed by anti-social justice warriors on YouTube. So they would make these videos debunking my content, calling me names, sometimes using racial slurs, saying that I should unalive myself, that I should be SA'd, that I hate white people, that I hate men. They would talk about my now ex-husband, and no one did anything to protect me. But it was all under the guise of comedy. And the thinking was that they were purporting that marginalized people are lying about our experiences, we're lying about our history, we are making a big deal out of things that don't matter, and we're creating words out of thin air, which, hello, that's where words come from. Someone has to make them up. And because these videos would target people that were extremely online and in need of community, they were able to dupe people into consuming hours worth of content that had no research or fact-based evidence at all. They were pure opinion. And as we see with the pandemic, a lot of people don't understand the difference between opinions and facts. And when someone makes a 40-minute video debunking a 5-minute episode of MTV Decoded, filled with lies and misinformation and straw man arguments, it's impossible to debunk it yourself without getting sucked into a hole of wasting your time and energy. I will never forget a guy made a whole music video that was animated, starring a character that looked suspiciously like me. I used to have locks, and so this was a black girl with locks, and it was all about how triggered she was and how upset she was, and essentially creating this narrative that people who advocate for social justice are actually the ones oppressing white people, oppressing men, oppressing straight people. I mean, this guy spent money to have a video produced. He went into the studio. I mean, it was well done. These people were making a living off of talking about me and spreading lies and essentially creating fascism-like content. So these people were essentially primed to consume alt-right content because they were being essentially fed it through comedy videos from their favorite creators. And then the algorithm just went ahead and then continues to pump that stuff out to them. You notice it whenever you watch something innocuous, you get fed anti-feminist, anti-social commentary or social justice stuff. It's pretty insidious, and a lot of people are making money off of it. And now a lot of those people are now making progressive content. Yeah.
One of the few good things that came from me being targeted by people like that is that's the reason that I got to know Francesca. And she and I, we're not super close. We're close enough that we can interact on Twitter and occasionally exchange a DM here and there. But I mean, we're not best friends or anything, but I do know her, and I know Anita, and I know a couple other people that, we basically reached out to each other online because it was oh, hey, the people who hate you hate me. I guess we should probably know each other. It was that sort of thing. So it benefited me in that way. And also, my experience, my experience is very, very similar to what Francesca's was, only on a much smaller scale. And I mean, obviously, I am not a marginalized person. I'm a white cis hetero dude. I was not harassed or bullied based on any of my, based on my skin color or my ethnicity or my sexuality or anything like that. Whereas Francesca was, and Anita was, and Zoe Quinn was, and a lot of the other, popular targets of these people were. And again, because they were higher profile than I was, they got it a hell of a lot worse than I did. So I don't want to say that my experience is the same as what Francesca is describing there, but it was similar. It was the same kind of thing, just on a much lower level. And yeah, so what she's describing there is exactly how it was. That rings completely true to me. And Francesca is a fantastic person and an incredibly talented person. And the fact that she has become so successful as a writer and has been able to do things and earn a good living and build a reputation as a comedian and a writer, and as someone who earns a living away from YouTube and away from this sort of thing, makes me so proud and so happy. What would TJ have to do? And what do I want him to do? The second question is easy. I don't want him to do anything. I don't give a shit what he does. It's difficult for me to imagine anything he could do that would possibly make a difference to me. And really, that's the key. They say that when you forgive someone, you do it more for yourself than for them. You forgive yourself to release yourself from a burden. Right? So you don't have to carry this hatred around. You don't have to carry this burden around anymore. And in my case, that's not necessary because I don't really carry around a lot of anger or hatred toward the people who harassed me, and my wife at the time, and my friends, and, a whole bunch of other people. I don't carry around a lot of anger about them because I don't really think about them. Literally the only times I think about TJ Kirk are when other people mention him to me, which doesn't happen very often. As far as I know, he's not interested in forgiveness from me or from any of the other people that he and other people like him harassed in order to build a platform. As far as I know, he's not terribly repentant for any of that, or at least hasn't made any kind of gestures to anybody to try and make anything right. And even if he did, fuck him. He doesn't get that from me. So for me personally, there's nothing. There's nothing I want. There's nothing he could do. But in general, if he was going to do a 180 and he wanted people to take him seriously as having actually changed, taking down all those videos would be a good start. Figuring out how much money he made on all those videos that he made harassing people, and either donating that money to charity or figuring out how much ballpark he made off of harassing each individual person and sending all of us a check for whatever that amount was. Now, we'd have to take TJ's word for it, and we know how trustworthy he is with money. So, you kind of have to take what you get there. But just the idea, you made a lot of money off of making a lot of people's lives miserable and whipping up a lot of hysteria and a lot of hatred and a lot of anger toward people who did nothing to deserve it. So take down the videos on your channel where you do that, work out how much money you made from that, and give that money away. Either give it to a worthy charity, donate it to Anita Sarkeesian's fucking hotline. Donate it to some group that helps people deal with online harassment. There you go. That's the bare minimum. And I know he's never going to do that. None of those fuckers are ever going to do that. And I'm not asking him to. And I'm not saying that it'll ever happen. But on the incredibly unlikely possibility, the hypothetical scenario that they want to prove that they have changed and that they actually feel bad about all that shit and they want to make it right and do something different and do something positive and start fresh with a clean slate, absolute bare minimum is to make it right with the people that they made all that money off the backs of. You got to make that right. And that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. It's never even occurred to him to do that, because I think whatever, quote unquote progressive thing and I haven't watched his shit. I never watched his shit to begin with. I don't know what he's on about now or whatever, but if he's trying to do kind of a pivot and do like a more left-leaning progressive thing, like you say in your question, Geek, Just because you say you support Medicare for all doesn't change the fact that you're an asshole. And he's more than an asshole. He's a piece of shit. And until I see some incredibly compelling evidence convincing me otherwise, that will remain my assumption that he's a piece of shit.